Welcome, welcome,
Hey,
welcome.
everybody.
We're going to get started, so we're not going to waste any more time. So, hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday, and welcome to S.H.E.R.O Spotlight. For my newbies, welcome. So glad you joined us. For my day ones, welcome back. I've been gone for a while, but it's just act like I've never been going nowhere. So I'm just so happy to be here today and just explain to you, first of all, what S.H.E.R.O Spotlight is for those who are new to the Spotlight. So I started S.H.E.R.O Spotlight during the pandemic. I was doing like Saturday Seeds, giving people words of wisdom. I am a licensed clinical social worker, which means I provide mental health therapy. And during that time, we really needed, a lot of mental health resources because of all that we were going through during the pandemic. And then I started spiraling it into the S.H.E.R.O Spotlight, where I wanted to spotlight moms to share their story of adversity, but also overcoming those adversities. Because I struggled myself with my own adversity when I was going through divorce. I was dealing with depression. Yes, I'm a therapist, but I was dealing with depression because we're not exempt. When we go through some things, sometimes it's hard to get out of that bad place. But luckily, I created this acronym that helped me get out of that bad place, and that is S.H.E.R.O. S.H.E.R.O, of course, we know is a female hero, but I created this acronym, and S stands for sacrificing for my child or children. H is healing from my past hurts. E is evolving into what God wants me to be. O is revealing my truth. R is revealing my truth. And O is obtaining my goals and happiness. So by doing all those things is what got me to the point of overcoming that. And so each S.H.E.R.O that I spotlight, she exemplifies that S.H.E.R.O acronym. And so tonight I have with me the beautiful Khalilah Gray, and she's going to share her story with us about her children, her sacrifices. And I must tell you, this is a story of inspiration and empowerment. And so as you all tune in, definitely, we are family here. So definitely put comments in the chat. If you have some questions for Khalilah, please put that in the chat as well. But this is all about love and supporting one another, because sometimes when we go through things, we think that we are alone, but there's somebody else who may be going through something similar, or sometimes even worse. And if that person can overcome, we surely can overcome as well. So first, Khalilah, I want you to tell us more about yourself, where you're from, and all that good stuff.
Well, y'all know my name is Khalilah. I am originally from Long Island, New York, and I then came down south. So then I found myself in Anderson, South Carolina, where my children are from. Um, I'm a mom. Uh, that's really all I could say, at this moment.
Yeah,
I'm a little nervous. I thought I knew what I was going to say, but I'm
you
nervous.
got it. You got it. I'm here with you. So you're a mom of six. Tell us the ages of your children.
My children it starts with my oldest, which will be 23 this year. Then we have 20. I'm sorry, because with their ages, like time stopped. So I do
Yeah.
apologize about that. So then I have my 17-year-old, and I have an 8-year-old, a 5, and a 2-year-old.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I want you to tell us more about Shaheem and Imani. Describe who they are, their personalities, and then we'll get more into, what happened to them.
Well, as you can see on the screen, they were that uh, two peas in the pod, besties. Very strong-willed children, very intelligent. Sorry, I'm trying not to cry. Because I'm looking at them. They were so smart. Uh, um, very strong-willed. I pumped in them that they can do whatever they wanted to do. And they grew up and showed me that that's what they took in. So they did whatever they chose to do, respectful, kind-hearted, loving. And I'm not just saying that because they're my babies.
Right, right.
They were good people. They are good people. I hate to say were.
Right, right. Understandable. And so when we talk about, the part of my acronym is the S, sacrificing for my children. Just tell us a little bit more about their story and what happened and the sacrifices you've had to make as a mother dealing with loss of not just one of your children, but two of them.
Okay. I don't know where to start.
So
How to
you can
say
talk
that?
about Shaheem first and what happened in his incident.
Okay. I'm sorry because with both of them, but with Shaheem, my son, he was home from college for the summer. He actually was getting ready to go back to college that Monday uh, to start his third year. Played football. Awesome kid. Was working BMW. That day he left out that Saturday. Told me, "Mom, I'll be back." We were supposed to go out to dinner, a new spot in Greenville, and
Mhm.
we liked food. As you could tell,
Mhm.
we small, but we like food.
Right.
That was a bonding thing for us. So I was like, okay, Saturday morning, I'm up cleaning. My son
Mhm.
leaves out. Mom leaving, I'll be back. I'm going to take care of a few things. No problem. Regular day. He leaves. I say about 10:30, 10:45. I get a call from my daughter, Imani,
Mhm.
and she says, Mommy, they said Shaheem's been shot. Uh, I jumped in my car and I rushed. They said he was at the mall. So I rushed to the mall. Um, Nothing. Didn't know nothing. Nobody talked. Nobody said nothing. You know, because I didn't understand what was going on because he wasn't in trouble. He wasn't that type of kid. Yeah, I said kid. You know, he was my baby. So
Right.
he wasn't like that. So I couldn't understand or wrap my head around how this can happen, there. So fast forward, my son fought for a day and then he went home. There is one person that has been locked up in because of the situation. They said that there were a group of individuals at this time. My son was in this mall. He basically had, from what I'm being told, he had an altercation and they words went back and forth. Then they said the witnesses that do choose to speak, because that's a problem,
Right.
um,
Right.
that words was exchanged. My son was hit and then he was shot.
Mhm.
You know, that's all I know. I
Right.
don't know why. I don't know what led to this. I know there
Mhm.
were 5 individuals, but one has now been detained. So I'm just
Okay.
being patient. That's
Right.
my son's story.
Mhm. And what about Imani and her story?
Amani, 5 months after my son was taken from me, uh, December 29th, my daughter uh, decided she wanted to leave and she went to her cousin's house, getting ready for the new year.
Mhm.
Um, I'm at home, same scenario, kind of eerie, right? Uh, Sitting at home, cleaning every single time. And I get a call from my daughter's father. And he says, where's our daughter? And I said, she's at her cousin's house. He says, something's going on. I get that call. I stay on the phone. He gets there. When he walks in, he tells me my daughter's no longer here.
Mhm.
Um, don't know why that happened either.
Right.
She
Wow.
wasn't a she wasn't in the streets. She wasn't a bad child. Neither one of my children were in the game. I don't know what happened. I
Mhm.
just know
Right.
my daughter's no longer here.
Right. Right. And so, I mean, this is just something, no one could ever imagine. Two children, senseless acts of violence, a short period of time between the two. So, did you even have time to grieve the death of your son due to your daughter's death happening soon after?
No, I didn't. I didn't. I'm gonna be real. When my son passed, I didn't even know what grief was. I was still wrapping my head around the fact he wasn't coming back.
Hmm.
My daughter, you know, I was still trying to keep it together for them, my children at this time, because they didn't know what grief was. This is the first time we
Right,
experienced, So no, I didn't grieve him. I was still wrapping my head around that. Somebody had the nerve to take my son.
right.
Yeah. And then when my daughter passed, it was like it killed me. Like, um, yeah. But that her passing forced me to grieve.
Mhm.
I'm gonna be
Right.
real with you. Her passing
Hmm.
forced me to grieve.
Hmm. Right. Yeah. And then, as I've told people before, with grief, there's a cycle, there's stages of grief, that you go through, and it doesn't stop. Sometimes people get to the point of acceptance, then they go back to the anger stage,
Yeah.
because it's really hard. And I always encourage people and tell people, because sometimes when it comes to grief, after years pass by, they're thinking they should be over it. But no, there's no time frame or limit on grief,
Nah.
and so it's kind of like, how do you deal with grief? Is, remembering, the person that passed away,
Right.
but also moving forward in your life, because that's what they would want you to do, because you still are here, you still have breath in your lungs that for you to live. And so losing two children in that way, you're broken. We kind of talked about this when we first met. So how do you mend brokenness?
Love.
Mm, that's
Love.
good.
Love.
Good.
I find myself wanting to just love on everything.
Uh, uh,
I love everybody. Like, I refuse to let this destroy my heart. Like, I know that that's not supposed to happen. So love helps me heal. Loving on everyone, learning how to love life, learning how to love breath, the
mhm.
people around me. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's important, because I think sometimes we take things for granted.
Yeah.
And like you said, just having love just for the small things and just for everything, because sometimes we are holding grudges against family members for years. We only get one life. It's not worth it.
Yes.
Um, right. So, and luckily, saying your children, they you left on good terms. They knew you loved them, because I think that's the hardest, is when you're having, disagreements with people and something tragic happens. And that's why it's important that we treat each other with love,
Yeah.
so that none of that will ever be missed. If a person knows that, you've done your part, saying, and you knew that person knew that you loved them,
And,
because we never know when it's our time.
and that's one thing I consider, my children, our household was nothing but love. As you can see in this picture, nothing but love. So I guess that's why it makes sense that that's what's helping me get through this, because I had to double back to what it is I embedded in them.
Wow, that's
And that's one thing that made us feel good was love.
And what else has helped you cope? Family support and things. It's like, when people first pass away, you're overwhelmed because everybody's around you, people coming to the funerals and things like that. But then after that, as when most people I know, when I, work with clients who dealt with grief, that's when they struggle the most, because everybody starts having to go back to their regular lives, and you need that support even more then, because that loneliness and that sadness sits in.
I'm
So
gonna be
what
real.
helped you cope?
I'm gonna be real. When
Mhm.
when everybody was around, it was as if they wasn't. So it was
Mm.
like I was around a room full of people, but I was really by myself. But I wasn't. So I now have to piggyback on, at that time I was by myself on a physical level, but I had God. Like, yeah, that was all God. I never was able to fall into that feeling, because I just went to him to get through this, the pain of it. A human being couldn't get me through what I was going through. I had to go to God. And that's probably why I'm able to go through this. I don't expect nothing from a human being. It's all coming from source, from God, at this point. So I don't get lonely.
Right.
I just talk to them when I need somebody to talk to. The people around me are just extra people that I choose to acknowledge.
Right.
That's
Oh, I
how I
love
roll.
that. That's it. Speaking of God, when you're evolving into what God wants you to be, can you continue on in life without knowing why these senseless acts happen to your children?
Yes, I have no choice at this
Mhm.
point. I have stopped asking why, to be real.
Mhm. Right.
Because it don't matter why. They shouldn't be gone. And if
Mhm.
I ask why, then I'm gonna get all upset and angry, And it helps with nothing. Nothing. My children, it won't bring them back. It won't make me feel better because still you
Mhm.
took something from me. So, you
Right.
know, I don't ask why. You can't heal and keep doubling back on why.
True. That's true. How have your children's death changed who you are from the Khalilah who they were before they passed away to now? What do you see different?
I'm harder. Um,
Mm.
I am the real representation of 100. Like I'm straight up and it's not to hurt anyone. I'm tougher.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
am.
this will make you tough, I'm sure. But I think too, you probably don't have a tolerance for a lot of things because of
I
this. It's
don't.
just like,
That's the best word. Low
yeah,
tolerance. Very low
mhm,
tolerance.
I get it. I get
Anything.
it. Hmm.
Yeah.
And then sometimes we don't understand, but trusting God, yes, have to know that He has a greater plan because when things like this happen, like I said, we just don't get it.
Yeah.
But knowing that it's in God's hand and He has a plan, what do you think God's purpose or plan is for you?
Um, to help others, to help prevent other young men from doing what these young men have done to my children. Instead of me, I could have went and just got so mad and hate individuals that are being accused or that are similar to the individuals that are being accused of killing my children. But I didn't have an option to do that. I was told I need to understand why they're doing this and help them. I hate that I couldn't meet these young men before they made this mistake
Right.
because I've always been open to helping the youth. Something's wrong. Something's wrong for for an individual to get up and carry so much malice in their heart that they can take a person's life. Something's going on with them. And I was told, instead of me hating them, I need to understand so I can help prevent it.
Right. Right.
That's my
Absolutely.
purpose right now, to help them, help people
Right.
like them. Once they let me know what's the problem, because I'm here. I want to know. So we don't have no more mothers feeling like me. You
Mhm.
know, I know they didn't come in this world like that. I know they didn't.
Mhm.
And being
Right.
somebody who's gone through life, I know what life can do to you. So I'm just here to just tell them, what can I do? So we don't go through, no mother goes through this, man.
Right. For sure. Do you think we're failing too as a community when it
Yes.
comes to our children?
Yeah. It's not
Or just
mine.
looking after either each
It's
other,
not
you know?
it's not mine. It's either it's not mine. They're not mine. So that's none of my business, which I am guilty of that. Because my
Hmm.
children were doing right and I called it minding my business.
Hmm.
But in order for our children and our community to grow, we can't mind our business. We have to be involved. We have to. If you see a house shot up and you know that you don't like going through this community because of the shootings in there, then you need to speak up. We need to come together. We need to figure out what's going on. We don't have time to say, well, that's them over there.
Right.
It's
Right.
it affects everyone. These
Mhm.
crimes affect everyone. So no one has the chance or choice to say that's not my problem
Right.
to
Because it's
me.
all of our problems. Yeah.
It's
You're
all of
right.
our problems. As we
Hmm.
can see, I learned it the hard way.
Right.
Those boys ain't my problem. In my issue, in my mind, my children doing right. I know where my kids are. One's here, and so happened, the minds don't come home. So yeah, I
Right.
can't talk like that. I have to be involved. I heard about the things going on in the community after, it was like, damn, all of this was going on and I didn't know about it. The shame, like what I could have done if I did, but I
Right.
chose to mind my business. I
That's
chose to
deep. Yeah. And then when we talk about revealing my truth, what would you say about our justice systems especially when it comes to Black lives or Black on Black crime? Because you have now experienced it with two children, so you can speak, from that experience.
Well, I think the justice system looks at it as it's of the norm. They're used to this taking place. So it like I was able to experience how they felt about this by way of them treating me that way, but it came out to be different. So in their situation, the first thing that wanted to be screamed at first was
Mhm.
gangs. And I swear God came in and was like, no, I'm gonna send people in to let them know. No, not this group right here. This one, not saying they're any better than anyone else's children. But the fact what I'm speaking on was the first thing that law enforcement did. Um, they judged, they put people like in categories way before even trying to do the case in regards to my
Right.
son. Um, a lot of people are putting a criteria that before they even realize that everybody's different. They just look at everybody as the same. Every murder is the same to me. That's what I feel. I don't feel that people are getting justice.
Right. Right. And that's very, because it goes back to like the racial profiling. You got a Black male with locks, in a mall and
Yeah,
you're having a verbal altercation. And like you said, they automatically assume it's gang
he's a
related
gang.
or something like that, instead of just looking like it was just an individual who got in a verbal altercation with someone and somebody shot him.
It
Senseless.
you know it's in his story. I think it was the wrong day that people should have not chose to profile. Like they do it any other time.
Right.
You have a group of individuals walking around a mall, fully masked. How I'm being told, everybody chose to mind their business that day, the wrong day. My
Mm-hmm.
son, I don't even think it was because of lots, because people knew him, like people in the mall was like, yo, I know your son, he's good people, real respectful. I don't know why the police came to that conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Right.
yeah, everybody might say it's because of the locks or whichever. I think it's because of the small mindedness or
Oh,
the
yeah.
lack of education on some things. So we go to what we think we know instead of
Right.
realizing that somebody else is, this there are people who are losing their life that are not involved in that lifestyle. And you have to treat them accordingly. I wasn't at first.
Right.
I wasn't.
Right. And then I think the sad part of this too is, like I said, you lost your children, but then also the ones who were, are responsible for these crimes were also Black.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then you have those mothers and those families losing a loved one.
Yeah.
And so then it goes back to Black on Black crime. Because again, thinking of Imani and Shaheem is in college, and
Hmm.
playing football, want to go to the pros, doing something great. Imani about to graduate high school, going to college. They could have been pillars of the community, to the community. And
Yeah.
we see it quite often where we see people who make it out of their community, then come back to their community and get killed, like Nipsey Hussle and different people like that. It's just like you're not even safe in your own community because people are killing or jealous of those who are trying to make it out.
Right.
And what are your thoughts on that?
That's exactly what's going on. Man, it's so much I can say about it, but I do feel that that's what took place with my son. Him
Mhm.
leaving here based on what he showed me. A lot of people had an issue with him, and to be honest, he didn't care because he told me, "Ma, I stay out the way. I just go to work. I don't get involved." So he didn't make it. No, he didn't think of anyone as a
Mhm.
problem. It's their problem. It's not mine. I'm not doing nothing to bother them. So,
Mhm.
my daughter in her situation, I don't know what that was about. Like I really still don't know how my daughter ended up in that situation. I don't.
Mhm.
But it didn't leave open for them to automatically assume it was, the way they put it out there. They did not show my children any grace. They didn't show me any, to be honest. But here we are.
Right. And
Because
so when
they,
we speak about that and like the racial profiling of police, but not only that, the media coverage, and
yeah.
we know there's disparities in media coverage when it comes to, Black lives or situations or, crimes or kidnappings. We don't get as much as, our white counterparts do. So how was your thought about that? Because, again, even if you do get press, sometimes it's that bad press, because again, them thinking is gang related or something of that nature, not highlighting or spotlighting. This was a college football player, this was a young
Mm.
lady about to graduate high school, go to college. Those things are not really said. So when you look at that, what are your thoughts about that? And then also, what does justice look like for you and with the situations of your children?
Well, the first part, I'm gonna tell you, it was probably one news anchor who reached out to me, and she stayed too. They stayed very. They spoke to me a lot.
Mhm.
Um, that tried to put out what they could, as far as them with the case being open and things of that nature. But the coverage, because the coverage, as far as outside of them, it was ridiculous. They didn't say anything about it or even speak of it as if it's an issue in that area. How's this woman going to lose one child and lose another one within the 6 or 5 months time span? There's a problem going on in this community that we need to discuss. We didn't even hear that. Like we hearing
But they
about
probably
every
were thinking they were related in some way, the two
they did.
shootings, yeah, instead of thinking
They
it separate, right? Mhm.
yes, and uh even down to how it was reported about her age. She was a young lady, she was a little girl. My daughter had just turned 18 August of that year. She was a baby. And the way they reported it was like, woman shot and killed in apartment. No, this is really more serious than that. This is a problem. This is a problem in this town. And everybody ain't looking at it. Now, there's a problem in this area. I was told a little bit over 300 shootings have taken place within that area or in that circumference. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a
Before the
lot.
new year came, that's a lot for this little town. There's a problem, but people are still moving around as if there's not. We talking about it. They talk about it, but nobody's doing anything. As far as justice, for me, I guess when they go to court, they find them guilty, and whatever God see fit them get will be my justice. Uh, I believe in
Right.
karma. So
Mhm.
it is what it is. However, whatever God sees fit for them to get, that's the justice I'm supposed to get. That's how I leave that. And I ask no questions. I don't think about it so I can get all worked up like they better get this. It's like whatever God sees fit, because I trust him.
Right.
That will be my justice.
Right. And so, and this has been what, a year and a half now, almost 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 years.
So
It's
you're
been two
waiting.
years or more, going on three. Yeah, I'm waiting very
Mhm.
patiently
You're
because I,
waiting.
I know of people who they don't feel the justice system has done them right when it comes to murder in that town. So I'm just sitting here waiting patiently and ready to make sure they do right by my children's trial, which it feels like they are so
Right,
far.
right,
Right now, they do. It do seem like they're working.
right. And then when we think about gun violence, and you kind of touched on it, a little bit just now with all the shootings that's taken place just in that area alone, it's just what is your stance on gun violence?
It's ridiculous. It's become so of the norm that it's not. What did they call say when you just become
Immune to it?
immune to it? It's
Mhm.
you're numb to it. Like, oh boy, it was a shooting. I remember after my son got killed, I seen back to back people was being shot, similar place to where it was shot at. And then it like I kind of went into shell shock because the amount it seemed like more and more like. And then after my daughter, it tripled. Even though I guess it was just reality that I'm not the only place this is happening.
Right.
You know,
Mhm.
um, it's ridiculous, and I am really trying to figure out how we can fix this.
Hmm.
I am, but I know something has to be done.
Right.
Um, and we need all the help we could get. We don't have time to be. I don't need help from you. We people need to sit down and look outside the box, like people that you don't think you can get assistance from may be able to help. But we need all the help we can get in order to change our community for these guns, these shootings. I don't know what's going on, but they do not care about taking a person's life.
Right. And our laws definitely need to be adjusted.
It definitely
The
does.
system is just we're contributing to the problem as well. Some countries don't even have this type of laws at all, you know. And it's more so everybody looks after everybody, so no one's trying to rob or steal you because everybody know everybody. Everybody's
Right.
looking after one another, so you wouldn't need guns and stuff and the guns of like machine guns and different things like that. We're not at war here, so it's just scary times for sure.
So I'm gonna tell you why you say that. I was told by an officer that one of the issues is there, or in that within that state,
Mhm.
they just passed a law where you don't have to have your license
Wow,
to carry, right? So
wow.
if in at this point, if someone's walking around and if an officer just sees them and be like, "Hey, I think they might have a gun," they can't just go and be like, let me see you, let me see your license, da, da, da. You can't just do that now. Like he says, and at this point, if there was someone like in my son's situation, if there was someone walking around a mall and they just showed some type of uh inclination that it was an issue, it's not against the law
Mhm.
to do that. Like
Definitely.
I can't turn around and say, hey, come here, let me, since these laws done came in, come here, let me check you right quick. At first, this law was you could stop them and say, come here, what's going on? But now, because these laws have changed, if and these people are smart, an officer stop someone and be like, "Come here, what you got going on? What do you have that for? Let me see your license." People getting sued. People are getting in trouble. There's so many things that are coming in that's putting the officers' hands behind their back, from what I'm being told.
Right.
Regarding because these guns that have been used in my daughter's shooting, they're saying, how did they even get on the street? Like, why? How do these young people even have these guns? Where are they coming from? Why we can't figure this out? How are they moving around the town, and no one knows this?
Right.
Like
Hmm.
these are high tech guns. These aren't no little pawn shop guns. They've already
Right.
implemented laws to keep people from buying guns and committing crimes with the pawn shop. Something's going on.
Right.
So I guess we got to figure that out. Me one step ahead.
Right. For sure. I know that you have talked with your daughter's killer.
Yeah,
So have you forgiven the murderers of your children? And if you haven't, do you think you can? Or what does forgiveness look like for you?
I forgive everybody. I've forgiven them. I
Hmm.
couldn't, I can't expect for me to get justice if I didn't. I was just telling my sister, if I did not forgive them or move and
Right.
it would be like, God is gonna be like, in my mind, God's gonna be like, okay, since you didn't do what I told you to do, I'm not gonna do what I'm gonna do. That's how I've convinced
Mhm.
myself to move right. Like
Right.
you can't move with no darkness or hatred in your heart. I had to forgive him because if I didn't, I wouldn't be right here right now. I'm
Right.
gonna be honest, because that's heavy.
Yeah,
Um,
it is.
do I think about why they did it? I do.
Mhm.
Like, come on, yeah, I took my babies. I hurt. I
Mhm.
don't hate them. I don't
Mhm.
hate them. Um, I wish they would have made better decisions, man. I swear, I wish they would have just took a step back. Like, nah, it's not worth it.
Worth it. Right. Right. And so when you talk to that young man, I mean, what was his sentiments or kind of how did that conversation go? Not getting too deep into it, but just overall, what did
He
you
didn't.
gather?
He didn't. He he just. It was like I was forced to look at him a different way because he didn't
Mm.
present himself as the monster that I thought took my daughter.
Mm. Mm.
I had to be forced to look at him like the child he is. It was like I had to be who I've always presented myself to be with the youth that's been around there. And those that know me, if they're listening or watching this, I'm auntie. I'm my dukes. I am someone you can come and talk to so you don't go. So at that point in time, it was me opening myself up to allow him to be himself. And wasn't rude, wasn't disrespectful. Only conversation. It didn't last long. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so moving on like to obtaining my goals and obtaining my goals and happiness in the O and Shiro, what does happiness mean to you? Because of so much tragedy that's happened to you and sadness and brokenness, what does that mean to you?
I'm still working on it. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out. It's like some days I'm happy. You know, I'm happy. I might not show it. But yeah, I just can't shake that sadness. You know, like I don't know. I'm waiting. I find myself buying animals. I find myself trying to indulge in things that make me feel good. I look at my children, I'll be happy, you know, when they're happy. But the minute they go to sleep, I'm like, okay, what else can I do to make myself a little happier? I'm still working on it, man. Because the only thing right now that could make me happy was if my babies could come back.
Right,
And
right,
they can't, so.
right. And I interviewed a mother a couple of years ago who were dealing with the loss of a child as well. And she talked about how, you know, she had other children that were younger than that child. And she was just like, I don't know if those children would ever get to see the other mother before the death of my son. And so you kind of see that in the same way that they get the same person that you were
I
before.
I don't think they will.
Mhm.
But I try to work hard to give them
Yeah.
at least some of that woman because uh, I think I did a good job with my older ones. So I
Mhm.
try to remember how to how I did it, you know, like so I can at least like I find myself my older daughter now, you know. Um Imani was very talented. She could braid, she did nails because I was into cosmetology. So I taught her
Mhm.
everything. And she grew up to be Imani was so talented, well-rounded. And I find myself now that I'm trying to move past, or I am moving through this grief part, that I'm being like pushed to like show my 8-year-old, you know, to have the patience to sit down and show her, like, my show her. It feels like my daughter is telling me, like, show her how to do nails, show her how to paint, show her how to braid. Like,
So
so
it's
like
like you can't. Right.
I'm
Right.
being forced to like keep pushing, man. And I'm not mad at it, you know.
Yeah, because it's like you can't give up on being the mother
Nah,
that you've always been. And it's just like you say, you have that reminder from Imani to say, Mom, still be there for them, still be their rock, still be
do
that
it,
person who taught me so.
do
So
it.
yeah.
They do it a lot. They tell me a lot. Or even from the scolding them, getting on them, I can hear them say, "Ma, you know you wouldn't go through that, do that with us."
Right.
All the way down to Ma, you know, you need to get out because I did resort to it's safe in the house, safe for me.
Mhm.
But I'm being forced to now have to get out because my children are like their siblings. They want to get out. They want to see the world. It's scary because I wanted them to be that way. I didn't want them to be small minded. Not their mom's from up north. You know, I can go anywhere. I love Atlanta. I love all these places. So
Right.
I embedded that in them, and I'm doing it with them. But boy, they like moving fast. They want to see everything. I got one who want to go to Hawaii. Everybody want to travel. So I'm being forced to have to install what I installed into them to make sure they are able to survive too.
And I'm sure it's hard too because you're probably sheltering them a little bit more too because of what happened to
Yeah.
your oldest. And so that's probably what you wrestle with as well is giving them that independence to, but then it's like that scary feeling, that fear.
Oh, I don't want my 17-year-old, any of them to do anything.
Mm,
It's getting better now because I know I have to let them grow. Like I said, my children
definitely.
help me. So it'll be times I might want to treat my 17-year-old like he's 5. But I
Right.
can't. I can't hinder him. And he's been through stuff that I know a 5-year-old or a 17-year-old haven't. So I have to adjust with him. And that's something that I think we are lacking when it comes to the youth, period. We don't know how to
Right.
adjust with them. We think, oh, you this age, you supposed to have. Nah. We gotta learn how to adjust with these young people now. They're very smart. And I'm learning that after
Yeah.
going through this with him. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a very good point. And also too, because I mean of the heavy impact this has had on you, think of what the impact is on, the children as well as their
man,
siblings.
man.
And then the thing about adults, at least we can somewhat communicate our emotions and things like that. But children, sometimes they don't know how to communicate that. So it comes out in other ways.
Yes,
And so we have to make sure we're taking care of them too mentally and them getting the resources and the help they need so that when they, get of age, they have dealt with this and not held it in. So
yeah,
that's another thing too, and having open conversations, when it comes to grief, because I recommend that to any child who has experienced grief that they need to go to grief therapy and get some assistance there because you don't want them to harbor or hold on to those feelings because they grieve just as much.
well, I'm here to tell you they grieve just you're right, just like us. And I think they're a little more intelligent than some adults. Just from
Yes.
the conversations they've presented to me. It
Mhm.
was is deep. It's deep when
Mhm.
you take the time to listen to
Yeah,
children.
yeah. They're definitely more resilient. They are, for sure.
Definitely, definitely, definitely.
And so what do you want us to remember most about Shaheem and Imani for the people tonight who got to know them? What would you want us to remember most?
That they felt you could do anything you wanted to do, right? I want everybody to have that same type of drive. I want them to have this respect, um, be caring, kind. It takes you a long way, with which I embedded in them. Um,
Right. Yes, for sure.
it's like I knew what I was gonna say about them, but your mind, as I look at their pictures, which I'm gonna tell you, is very hard. It's very hard to look at their pictures. Um, because both of them were different, right? My son, he's very resilient. They both were. My son is when it comes to sports, he had a story because his mom was. I had the story of a single mom at that time. I'm not with their dad, and I was further away. And my son wanted to play sports. I couldn't afford that. There were things that people would do to keep their children out of trouble, which my son would find those things, so he didn't get involved. This is why we're staying in Atlanta, at this time. When he got back to Anderson, he was able to pick up certain things that he searched for outside of what I showed him that helped him develop to who he is. Very resilient, very humble, because we've been through some stuff. You wouldn't be able to tell looking at this young man that we've been through a lot. Both of them, they're very humble individuals that just love everyone, wanted to help everyone, was very wise beyond their years.
Right.
Very wise.
But I love that, what you said though, to just telling everyone to have that drive as they did. But also being humble, being a caring person, because I think we as a community have gone away from being, loving on people and caring for people because everyone has got so selfish,
Yeah.
and just care about themselves and not helping one another out. So I think that's very great things that you instilled in them. So my last question is a two-part question. How
Okay.
can we support you as a community, and what is the next chapter for you?
um, I see myself. I want to do something for the community. So it's like y'all asking how y'all can support me. I don't know, y'all. Um,
Mhm.
but I know I want to know how I can support you all. You know, like what can
I
I do
see.
to help y'all? Like I said, that helps me. That helps me heal. Like I'm here for it. I've been there, a mom who want to do things with our children and we can't afford it. If what's your feelings about it? I want to know what y'all feel so we can get in here and fix it. What are we lacking, especially in the town where they're from? But that's anywhere. If you have an idea and you don't know how to get it done, and I'm a go-getter, so I'll figure it out. I'll get you to the right person. If you want to do therapy and you don't know what to do, or you just want to have a conversation, or you're a mom who's lost children, I don't care how it took place, call me. Or however y'all do that. I don't be on social media. I see myself just helping people and telling my children's story. I know I need to do better because I go my, blank about it, but it needs to be heard. Tell my story.
Sure.
Because I've been through a lot, but it's about them.
Right. I'll just jump in real quick because I know we talked, eventually you want to have a nonprofit.
I do.
So I would say that's how we can help her. So if anybody,
Thank you.
have a nice crowd on here tonight. If anybody, knows how to start a nonprofit or have any resources, definitely reach out to her. You can reach out to me and I'll make sure she get the information because like she said, she's not really on social media to build this up, to help one another. And then
I
lastly,
want to
just what is
be.
the yeah, right. So what's the next chapter for you? What do you see yourself doing next?
I don't know. I just do whatever. What did I tell you? I just do
Well, you're
whatever.
gonna do this nonprofit. That's what you got to do. We're
I'm
gonna speak
doing
it
that
into
nonprofit,
existence. Yes, you are.
and I see it reaching because I see my story is so similar to so many women across the world. It's so many women and fathers. Um, I just see myself helping them or us getting out here and making some changes. I just need help on how can I do that? Make something shake. How can I make something shake? Because that's something my son would
Yeah, I
say.
like
We're
it.
gonna
Make some
how,
shake.
y'all help me on the right way. I'm not trying to bring no more smoke. I just want to help. And if I do cause smoke, it's smoke for the better.
Okay,
For our
right, right.
communities, for all
For
other
sure.
communities,
For sure. Absolutely. I love it. So I want you all tonight to show some love to Khalilah, put it in the chat, some hearts and some comments to her way. This has been amazing. And I just want you to know that you are a so proud of you. You have sacrificed for your children. You're healing from your past hurts. You're evolving into what God wants to be. Today, you sat here, revealed your truth, and you're going to be out here obtaining your goals and happiness. I am really just amazed by you. I'm proud of you because what you did, like I said, no mother can imagine. Like I'm getting emotional now. And you sat here and you were so brave and you talked about your beautiful children and you're still pressing on for the rest of your children. So I'm praying that God shows you your path and your purpose, and you live it out, and you don't be afraid, and you walk boldly and continue to share your children's story, helping others and other parents. And I would just say there are so many people out there that are struggling that have had tragedies like this. We as a community have got to do better. These two children died senselessly. And like you said, sometimes there are signs. We have to talk to our children. We have to talk to our family to prevent things like this.
Yeah.
How to, work through our emotions. Talk to your children. Find out the things they're doing, the things they're involved in. Because those children that did this to them was going through some stuff. And now probably
It
if someone
was.
just went down and talked to them, this would have never happened. So we got to get sometimes outside of ourselves. And even if they're not our children, just like you said earlier, still talk, show love. If I see kids out here cutting up, I usually say something like, "Where your mama at?"
You sure, mama? That's me. I wish I would have
And
knew these little boys, man. It would have
right,
went just like that. It would have went
right.
like
If
that.
I see bullying and things like that, like I told my daughter, I better never ever hear you being the bully.
That's right.
And if somebody's bullying you, you let me know and I'll
Yes,
handle
right.
that with the school. We have
That's
to
right.
talk to our children. We have to teach them because this has to stop us. Think about how many children too have committed suicide because of being
Right.
bullied or hurt at school. And then you have these children who think it's okay to be these gangsters and stuff like that, or get angry with somebody instead of, back in the day we used to what? We used to use our fists.
Right.
We're gonna
No,
fight and everybody gonna stay alive at the end of the night. And
because
then
everybody's
we'll probably end
scared.
up making up.
Yeah.
But once the gun is gone off and somebody's life is lost, that's it. It's no
That's it.
coming back. And I'm sure those people that young man, when you talk to him, he probably would want to go back in time
I know
and
he
chose,
does. I know he
right.
does.
And so we
Uh,
just really have to take the time out and work and bond together as a community, talk to our children, even if you don't have children, you know what I'm saying? You still talk, you're still an adult. You know, we need our strong aunties and uncles out there.
yeah.
We need to band together, and even more so as a Black community, because we're seeing that Black on Black crime and we're not being treated the same when it comes to justice for that. It's just like another Black person gone. We're killing our community.
Yeah.
These two young people are going to be bright. They're going to college and stuff. They were going to do something great. And that's two losses from our community out of something senseless. So we got to take care of one another. So if nothing else, we have to love. Like I said, the greatest thing you said, everything you said tonight was great. But the greatest, like you said, the thing we got to do is love.
That's
We got to love on one another. And
yeah.
that will stop all the division and everything is love. And so I appreciate you. I appreciate what you've done for the community, because believe it or not, you've done more than you think you've done
Mhm.
today just by coming here to talk. And then also what you've done for your children and who you know, encourage them and who you mothered them to be.
Mhm.
And so even though them two was here for a short period of time, they made their impact. And I know that you will continue to carry on their memory. And so we here to support you. And like I said, if anybody has any resources, anything, any information, let us know. So I thank you all for joining us tonight. And Khalilah, I just want to thank you so much for taking out the time again for coming here to tell your story and to speak boldly. I know it was hard for you, but you did an excellent job. So definitely show her love. And I just want to continue to see what God is going to be doing in your life. So
I
thank you so much.
appreciate you. Thank you
For
for
sure.
helping me get started.
Oh, for sure. And thanks everybody for joining us tonight. Continue to tune in for my next She-Ro. I will be announcing that, but continue to like or follow my page. And we're going to see you next time.
See you
Y'all have
next
a great
time.
night.
Good night,
Bye.
everyone.